So we have Mr. Tassos and Mr. Karsten from Vertiv, and we're going to talk about their participation at the event and the products and solutions they're focusing on. So thank you once again for speaking to us. Thank you. We'll start with a brief about your participation at the event and the products you're focusing on.
Yes, thank you, Chris, for having us here. One of the important things that everybody around here is obviously noticing is that Dubai is the hub for all the technology trends that are happening in the region, not only in the Middle East, but also Middle East and Africa and some parts of Asia. A lot of people from around the world are joining this event. And it's an opportunity for us to renew this annual appointment that we have in this industry. We see a lot of tech industries here. Vertiv has to be part of this. The other thing that we are key focus for us is to develop our partnerships in the region. We've seen a few partners today, yesterday, and we continue to develop that partnership because we need to be here to serve our customers better, and that's a key focus for us. The third thing is to showcase some of our products, key products, the micro data centers like the smart racks that we have, or the VR racks that are serving our customers within the data centers. It is very important for Vertiv to be here, and thank you, Karsten, for being here. Karsten is representing our management from the EMEA team, and it's very important to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
So how have the needs of data centers evolved over the past couple of years?
I think there's predominantly, well, there's probably more, but there's predominantly three areas, I believe, in terms of tendencies we see. There's an element, obviously, post-COVID, but even during COVID, we still see it post-COVID, which is around speed of deployment. Obviously, with the increasing connectivity we see among the entire world, we know that there is a increasing need for more capacity. And while maybe 4 or 5 years ago we saw deployment could take up to 2-3 years, we're now seeing desires to actually have less than a year of deployment, which actually brings me to point number 2, which is around standardization. Because when we see actually that's tremendous speed happening in the market to actually catch up and be sure that we actually are meeting the customer's demands, the desire in the industry to standardize more and actually, in some cases replace brick and mortar solutions with modular solutions and prefabricated solutions in all technologies, whether it's power, thermal, and everything, it's absolutely clear that we can actually meet the customer's demand in that speed, but actually even more importantly, we can actually expand the capacity, kind of like a Lego kind of approach, and thereby even making sure that the customers will always have the capacity they need when they need it, at a much lower cost compared to a brick and mortar solution. And the third thing, which I think is really important, is around sustainability. We issued a report a couple of days ago, essentially, stipulating the fact that this particular industry is sort of consuming 1% of the entire power on the planet. We have an obligation to make sure that the very footprint, the way we are using that particular power, and in everything we do around the data center industry, is taking our responsibility to make sure that we are not harming the planet more than we have to. And for that reason, Vertiv, but I believe many manufacturers, but we as well, have increased a lot of R&D to ensure that we're actually developing technologies that can actually help our customers to make sure that they are working on heat reuse, cooling technologies, that is more sustainable grid support solutions, even considering how we can actually help our customers to actually deploy and fulfill their entire sustainability strategies. So I think these are three very important trends that I believe we're seeing at the moment in the data center industry.
In terms of sustainability, do you see a bigger push towards greener data centers? And what are your goals in terms of as a company or a solution provider?
Yeah, I think I can start, Tassos, and then maybe you can fill up. But I think one element, of course, is as a manufacturing company and probably an important actor in the industry, we are spending a lot of R&D in developing technologies that allows our customers to save power to reuse the heat, and in every way find ways to using technology to ensure that if there is a power available in the data center that is somehow used maybe in the grid, to make sure that we are using, for instance, chilled water solutions. And I think we will see a lot more. We have already deployed since 2022, but also in the time to come, we will actually help our customers identifying and deploying new technologies that can even help them to complete their mission of increasing their sustainability strategies. I don't know if there's anything to add here.
Absolutely. I think what is important to mention is that standardization also creates a lot of efficiencies throughout our customer base, throughout the world, I would say, and also allows us to co-develop products and solutions that also meets their expectations in terms of sustainability. However, one thing that Vertiv does not discount on is the availability and the quality. And that is a key part of our strategy as well. A lot of our R&D, as Karsten said, goes to developing products which are sustainable, but also create that quality that the customer needs. Look at you around you now, everything is running. Your camera's running now, the internet is running, you don't have downtime. This is because of people like us that create that backbone into the system, allows the data centers to run continuously without disruptions. So key element, and being part in the Middle East as well, is to have that availability in place. Quality, availability is all over Vertiv. So combining all these things, sustainability, quality, availability, is what makes Vertiv a different player in the market.
Is there an increased acceptance of prefabricated modular data center solutions, and what factors are actually helping with the growth?
Well, as Tassos was mentioning, we see an increasing need from customers to have a standardized, a desire for a standardized footprint. So what we have made it our business to make sure that we, in collaboration with the customer, are designing specifically standardized, sometimes even containerized solutions, which can be expanded by modules, which will enable, whether that is racks or power or cooling, which will essentially enable our customers to, depending on the capacity that they're looking for, to actually, with almost a moment's notice, enable them to increase exactly that capacity. And the great thing about specifically a prefab is that once we have agreed on that design, it can be reused. Once we actually have deployed it, we can maintain it in a good fashion. And sustainability is not just something that arrived today and will end tomorrow. It's something that will probably increase going forward. And knowing actually how we have exactly designed all those solutions will enable us actually to, let me say, refit the various technologies within the solutions to make sure that the customer is always, let me say, minimizing the consumption of power or missing, heat and all those things. I would like to mention also, with the recent acquisition that we did last year with E&I, enables us specifically in this region to actually help our customer in terms of having a closer to customer type of manufacturing and deployment, which of course indirectly will also help us reducing our transportation footprint. And obviously that is a part of the carbon footprint play. So I think specifically with our facilities in Ras Al Khaimah, I think it represents a great opportunity for our customers, not only just to be part of our technology development, but manufacturing as well. But more importantly, also to ensure that actually the element of deployment will happen faster, and we don't have to spend tons of CO2 on transportation, yet alone also the costs.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point, and just to mention a recent example from the Middle East, we managed to deploy about 100 modules in a 4.9 megawatt installation in the Middle East, and we did that in very peculiar times with all the supply chain issues, faster than you could ever build a normal brick and mortar. In this instance, it was about 14 weeks that we delivered, 14 months, that we delivered the whole installation versus a normal 22-month deployment, or maybe even more sometimes. So key is that we had speed in it, which we can also improve now with this current investment that Karsten is talking about in UAE. We are investing in an expansion of the facility that we have here in Ras Al Khaimah, a very beautiful facility that we can utilize to serve our local customer base. And I think Karsten's point on the footprint of the carbon or that we save when we do not ship from somewhere else in the world versus shipping goods locally is huge. So I'm really glad that you mentioned this, Karsten, and we're looking forward to have this facility up and running very quickly.
Okay. In terms of key data center trends, what can we foresee for the next couple of months?
Sustainability will be a big topic.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. It is today, and it will indeed be a probably key success criteria for decision-making processes of deployments in the future as well. As I mentioned, just a couple of days ago, we actually released a report about sustainability in this industry. Earlier this year, we actually released reports on ESG within Vertiv. It's not just a topic that we would like to help our customers to activate and put on priority. It's also something that I believe that we have started to live and breathe, I would say, within the company of Vertiv, even down to our own car policy, even down to how we are utilizing even light in offices and all these things. We know for a fact that a lot of decision makers in the industry are putting that as a priority when choosing to delegate jobs and data center businesses to manufacturers. So, and that's also why we are spending so much time and money and resources to actually continuously try and identify, develop, and design new technologies that will help those customers on that. So I think sustainability is one key element. We should not forget that for instance, in many parts of the world, 5G is not a common standard. It is something that is still yet to be deployed. In the Mobile World Congress earlier this year, I attended a conference where it became pretty clear that while Americas, or that particular part of the world, as well as Asia, is much faster in deploying 5G, Europe is currently at a rate of 10-12% of rollout, which obviously enables us with an opportunity to actually identify together with the carriers and operators to identify business models that can actually help individuals, let it be consumers or businesses, in ensuring that we get good uses of all the connectivity that we are seeing is ramping up like there's no tomorrow. I think there's a reason why the internet is somewhat growing, something like 30-40%, depending on which report one reads. It's essentially, the internet is kind of like doubling every second year. A couple of years ago, we identified use cases, which we actually shared with the world, which essentially is intended to be an inspiration for how connectivity can help. And in some cases, needless to say, latency is a factor, right? We do not want to drive in an automated car that all of a sudden lose line of sight on the GPS. That is dangerous. We see some parts of the world, hospitals working very smart, patient journals being shared seamless in the cloud. the prevention of hacking of data, a key element, natural language translation happening with a moment's notice, is some of those key elements that really helps anyone to essentially make good use of data. And we know data is growing. There's a reason why it's called big data. I think it's also fair to mention that the very edge of our industry is pretty much an evidence of the fact that the need for speed and capacity and data management and number crunching and what have you will only increase. We believe, obviously, that edge, and I believe everybody in the industry believes that edge is not only just here to stay, it is actually growing more than 100% every year. We have actually, and are showing here at GITEX, actually micro data centers, which actually will enable our customers to deploy and make benefit of some of those archetypes of edge solutions that we are seeing happening now, whether that is in the retail space, whether that is, as I said, in the governmental sector, whether that is in transportation, whether that is in resource management, and so on. So I think sustainability is an element. I think the deployment of edge, of course, connected to elements like 5G and seamless connectivity, are some really interesting trends that will not only just, of course, help us in the industry, but actually make it just, in many ways, much easier to do what we have to do as consumers or businesses.
I think, Karsten, what you said about the big data is very important. But one needs to ask also the question, where are those data stored currently? And recent surveys show that still 92% of the data are stored outside the Middle East. And coming back to your point with regards to latency and all these services that require fast reaction, just shows the way that Middle East still has a big growth potential. And one of the trends that we also looking at currently is that the cloud adoption is still in infancy. And the reason why it's in infancy, because it has progressed so much in Europe and the Americas, this region is still running behind on that sense. But we also see the trends of these big cloud providers coming more and more into the region because they really identify the lack of the existence in the region. And we see more and more on this, which is very good news actually for everybody in the Middle East that is dealing with the data center industry. The potential is tremendous. We have to be very careful when it comes to the solutions that we provide, make sure that the solutions are indeed sustainable and can drive the Middle East into the next 15, 20 years of development in the ITC industry. So we are part of this. We invested as well heavily in developing the know-how in the Middle East. There's tremendous changes that happened over the last 2 years in terms of the technologies that Karsten spoke about on the chill water systems or on the power distribution systems. Every little percentage of efficiency that you create is really adding up in the total solution. So we see a lot of that trends now, more than ever. Efficiency is key, sustainability is key, but also the opportunity to grow the region in terms of data and data traffic is unbelievable.
Thank you, Mr. Tassos and Mr. Karsten, for speaking to us. Nice having you with us today, and it was a great conversation.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you so
very
much. Thank you.